It's 6:05. I'm calling to order this public hearing and workshop of the City Council of the City of Bandera. It's Tuesday, September 22nd, 2020 at 6:05 p.m. During the public hearing, it is not necessary to announce yourself when you join the teleconference. The public will be permitted to offer public comments during the meeting only if the public hearing required by law has been published. A recording of the telephone conference will be made and will be available to the public in accordance with the Open Meetings Act. All council members are present. The city secretary is present. City treasurer is here right now. The city marshal is here. The administrator is here. Item 2 is the public hearing. The city council will hold a public hearing regarding the proposed budget. Jill?
Welcome to tonight's public hearing regarding the City of Bandera budget. If you would like to speak, please raise your hand and I will call on you one at a time and ask you to please unmute yourself and then mute yourself back. You can raise your hand at the bottom of the screen in webinar controls. Again, please raise your hand. I will call on you and unmute yourself and then please mute yourself back. Thank you.
Jill, do we have anybody present on Zoom?
We do have a few people, but nobody has their hands raised.
Then we'll wait 5 minutes and see if we get any comments from the public on the budget. Jill, have we heard anything from anyone in the public?
No, ma'am.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the public hearing? Oh, we don't have to adjourn it, guys. It's just part of the workshop. Okay, could we take a 5-minute recess, please, and make sure it's 6:15? Okay, 6:16 of reconvening this workshop. Item 3 is the workshop, discuss budget for fiscal year 2021. Before we get into the budget, council, there are two things I want to talk to you briefly about that are going to be a composite of our budget for this coming meeting Thursday. One of the things on the agenda is to approve the fee schedule. The fee schedule was sent out. There's really, in my opinion, not much that should be changed on it, if anything at all. It's pretty simple. Jay, did you have any comment about the fee schedule?
No, ma'am, not at this time.
We discussed the tap fees, and our tap fees are right along with other small towns our size. We went way up on tap fees 2 years ago, 3 years ago. Anyway, we went from $250 a tap to $1,400 a tap. Jerry, did you have a question?
Yeah. Is it okay to go into questions on?
Yes, because we won't make a decision, but I need to know what the
Okay,
council thinks.
just skipping right over to page 2, under the trade permits. And Jay, maybe you can address this for me. The building, repair and replace the porch. So my question is on that, so if I replace one board on the porch, do I pay $140? In other words, do I need to get a permit just to,
Not for one,
Replace a couple
not for
boards?
like one board, no, not for just one board.
when do you determine how much? Or when do you determine that you will need to get a permit? 5 boards, 10 boards?
I
mean,
believe
I'm not
it's,
being funny,
I believe it's 51%, somewhere in
Oh,
that neighborhood.
okay.
I think, but I'd have to double check to be exact.
can we clarify that?
Yes, sir?
I concur because this has happened several times in the past. And normal maintenance is one thing,
Right,
but if it's more than 51% of the replacement of the project, then it requires a permit. Again, we can double check that for you before Thursday. Yes, Jerry.
and then down on the plumbing. Sewer line replacement, so if I have a leak in my line and I need to go out there and fix it, does that require a permit?
Not to fix, not to just repair. If, and I'm just using this for an example, if someone drove over, clean out bin or something like that, and broke it, that's just a repair. Now, if you had to go in, you had a plug and you couldn't get it unplugged, you had to replace X number of feet, you would have to have a permit, yes.
Okay, but it's a significant amount that you would have to replace.
I don't know, to be honest, I'd have to find
Okay.
out.
Could you find that out?
Yeah,
Just so I
don't
can
hold
feel
me to it,
comfortable
but
that we're
I
not-
believe it's more than 20 feet, but let me double check.
Same with the water line replacement, if it's
Absolutely.
leaking, I mean, you can just go ahead and fix it. No
Yeah.
permit required, is that
Yeah,
correct?
just a repair, yes. A
Okay.
replacement, you do have to have a
Okay.
permit.
Mayor,
Yes, Don.
yeah, do we compare other small cities, size of Bandera on these, fees?
Yes, not all of them, Cross Plains, Johnson City, Blanco, another one, just was brain dead on the other.
Castroville or Hondo or
No,
someone that's
no.
more our size?
Lionel, did we do Lionel?
No, it was, I went brain dead, it's one in the San Antonio area. Hondo, Castroville, Hondo, of course, is roughly 10,000, but I tried to keep them around 1,000, 1,500. And as far as tap fees, we are pretty much in line with them. Some cities do have impact fees also, along with tap fees, but we are not there for that yet.
I'd just like to know what some of the smaller cities in our area have. It does sound a little bit expensive.
I will tell you this, and I know we can't compare them. Fredericksburg, for example, will cost you about $4,500 to $5,000 for a tap.
On residential.
Yes, sir.
And ours are 14.
And that's with an impact fee included in that.
Question.
Yes, Rebecca.
The certificate of occupancy, gosh, that thing's really loud.
I don't know why I just decided to do that randomly.
So sorry. Jay, did we always have two fees, one for Bureau Veritas and one for the city of Bandera under certificate of occupancy?
Since I've been here,
Since
yes,
you've been
ma'am.
here, okay.
For instance, the folks that are gonna open up the kickback corner, they're just having a change of information. There's no change of use, therefore they don't get brand new inspection, so there's no inspection required. So then for your $50. I mean, remember too, council, all of these fees can be amended after the budget is approved. I just wanted you to have a look at them. If Jay comes back with information that council feels is relevant, then we can always change this, amend it after the budget has been approved on Thursday. Jay, are we selling any bulk water in particular?
No, ma'am. And we are trying not to. Don't sound good, but honestly, we'd much rather them buy the reclaimed water than the bulk water.
Okay, I get some water. Excuse me, folks. Thank you.
Jay.
Yes.
Yes, yes.
You okay?
Do you have a mint for her?
Oh,
Right?
chicken.
What do you want me to do with this, Jerry?
Couldn't use that.
All right, that's enough.
Try it one time. We should pass that around, I think.
Sure.
Okay, anyway, the chipping. I mean, what, didn't it used to be 40 an hour? And I don't have a problem with it, I'm just, wanting to see if I remember
I
right.
don't remember, to be honest. I thought it was 50 for some reason. Wait, we do have an old fee schedule,
I
so.
mean, I wouldn't argue with
Next page.
that. So take it away.
We don't even have a chipper anymore, do we?
Yes, we still have the trailer chipper here.
Oh, do we?
It used to actually be $20 an hour. Wait, oh, I'm sorry. No, this is a new one. It's $20 minimum with $80 an hour fee. We do not do a lot of chipping. Most of the time they'll pick it up, take it down to the yard, then chip it at a later time for people to come by and get mulch with it or whatever.
What kind of shape is that chipper in?
It's in pretty good shape, yes, sir. It's not terrible by any means. Of course, anything that's got that much moving equipment does take maintenance, but it's actually in pretty good shape.
Matt?
Yes, ma'am.
Jay, can
Hang
you?
on, are we done with the fee
Oh,
schedule?
yes, I am.
Rosie, you want to continue looking?
No, I'm fine, I'm fine,
Okay.
thank you.
Before you move any further, can I do my one piece and then we'll talk about the budget as a whole? Turn to page 26, please. And you will see that's our expense versus revenue projection based on our budget. We've cut everything out of this budget we could possibly cut out. We cut out about $13,000 worth, or $11,000 worth of overtime. We're still $13,712 out of balance on the general fund. Now, Jay and I have been talking for a couple of weeks about how to accomplish this, and I think Jay and Amber have some numbers for you and explain to you the concept. Jay?
Yeah, what we would propose is a 1% maintenance fee, if you'd like to call it, administrative fee or anything like that from the utility side to balance your budget on the general side.
Okay, so 1% is $16,309.70, which puts us in the good in the general fund, $2,597.70. And then on the, do you want me to repeat those numbers?
I've got him.
Okay. And then on the utility side, that 1%, we're still in the good, $146,787.30.
Now, the reason we're proposing this, and we're going to have to do some creative accounting with all of the responsibilities that we've taken on. Because our water department and our sewer department, because our wastewater department, because they use our city streets and the park, not parks, they are in the utility side. And the utility makes more money than the proprietary side. So basically, they use our streets. So streets has to repair the streets, obviously. So why not, and several cities do this, have your utility fund pay for your general fund a small fee, and whatever there goes into the budget, and if someone says the budget out, puts $2,500 in a contingency fund. Discussion. What about that?
Yes, it's actually really closely related to what I was gonna bring up. And so one question that I have about that is, you're suggesting starting with a 1% operating fee. So do you just create a new line item on the revenue side?
Yes, ma'am.
What I was gonna ask you to look at with me is on page 29, under utility fund revenues. If I'm calculating this right, I'm seeing a 20% projected increase. Oh my gosh, wait, sorry, I'm gonna be a little off because I was looking at year to date as opposed to the current budget, so I apologize, it's probably gonna be less than 20%, but that jump from the current budget to the requested budget, how are we justifying that increase in revenue?
Well, what I did was I took the third quarter numbers and then divided it by however many months it was, 9 months, and then multiplied it by the 12 months, and that's how I got that number.
Okay.
So it was current numbers that I took and projected.
With,
Yes.
okay. So you took the September 30th though, that's not third quarter.
No, the reason why I did it to the to September 30th date is because I wanted to show everything that we have paid up until now and everything that we have collected up until this date. So that brought in all of those numbers.
And we're not actually going to get these September numbers until October.
Right.
Or the October numbers until November.
So that's really more like 10 months.
No, billing cycle, I think we did meters last Friday, and meters don't go out the first, but it's for this month, billing. So that
Okay.
would be kind of interesting. A lot of stuff. Any other questions about line items on the agenda or discussion, or what do y'all think about that fee thing, Rebecca?
I like the fee, is 1% sufficient?
I mean, probably make it
you're-
2%, but we didn't wanna throw some big number out there and go, oh, why do you
I
think
mean,
that?
it's entirely up to council, but that basically is covering the difference. And you got a little bit left over, it's not a huge number. But like I say, if council likes a bigger number and it's available, it's not a bad idea to put it and stick it in a contingency fund to be used for whatever we might need.
Could that be amended later in the fiscal year, should,
Rebecca, I'd like to cut it down in the ordinance that we use to approve the budget, because this is an item that's creating a new line item that is transferring from one fund to another. I want it very clear and no change. I like 2% myself if we're looking at, because we still leave us 122,000 in the, the utility fund. If we're making 2%, we should have that in there for your statement in general.
I like,
Cheers.
I like that idea.
You like 2%?
Yeah.
Don, you have anything, one or the other? Or what?
No, either way, I'm good with it. I don't like contingency funds, but we have to have them sometimes.
Yeah, you and I have been through a lot of that in the old days, and that's where a lot of my old school stuff comes, is from when I was first on council.
We talked about it.
We battled a lot. So if you're good with that, what other specific things would you like to look at? As I said, the overtime for the newly created exempt employees has been removed. There's a little bit of overtime in each department for the second person in the department, a little bit extra for Keely in case Jill is gone. Keely has to do the city council meeting, or if Amber is not available and Allison has to be, yes, I remember her name now, and Allison has to do stuff, so there's about $500 in each account. Did we put 500 back in Jill's? Because we took it out. I just put it back in.
I think so.
Put it back in, okay, cool. And like I said, it's cut to the bone, guys. I was asking about the street equipment purchase in the street department. That's a
Mayor.
striper. Lord knows we need it. Yes, sir.
No, it's not in the secretary's fund, it needs to be,
It's not?
no,
It needs to be added to the
it needs to
secretary.
be added to the secretary.
Can you please break the note, Amber?
Yes, ma'am, I will do that.
So you were in general fund streets,
Now, go to street, please.
equipment purchase 5,000,
What page are you at?
23.
I questioned this because I was too trying to find places we could cut everything out of this budget we possibly could.
Oh,
And, that's for street striper. I think that's cool. Yes, sir.
10-518-6100, repairs and maintenance. What's, the requested budget is 20. It's double over last year. Do you have plans for that?
Page 23, maintenance, repairs and maintenance, $20,000 requested budget.
Because we're already 8,000 over the budget in that department. What?
Yeah, well,
That's in streets, why? Because we budgeted, Jerry, 10,000.
mhm,
We've spent 18,446.
right, but what happened there? I mean,
Jay?
any reasons that you were off that much?
Well, I can't answer that question honestly, but the reason that there's more in there is to hopefully to get more accomplished. And I know they found, and I'll use right over here at the light, one issue, whenever they was going over to patch it, they dug up some, ended up having to open it up about 100 feet by 30 feet. So dumped a lot of material right there, cost more than what they anticipated, and a couple other places that they've run into like that also.
Remember, I'm sorry, Jerry, go ahead. No, Rob. Remember too, that in this, street CIP, some of this stuff is have to be done in-house.
Mhm.
So this could help possibly take care of some of that, along with our materials line with, on the previous page. I
I'm good
believe.
with that.
which is, down 20,000, street materials repair. Yes, Rebecca?
I've lost my page where, how many vehicles are budgeted for?
Two, one in utilities and one in general.
Jerry,
One
you
of
have
those
a-
is, I'm
I'm
so
sorry, go
sorry,
ahead.
just
No, go ahead.
Marshall Department is one,
Yes, ma'am.
and Water Department
Public
is
Works, yes.
Public Works.
Jerry, you had a question?
What happened on the, I'm sorry, what happened on the, street repairs, 6280?
What page do you
The
remember?
current, same page, 23. What is that? What's going on there?
Where are you?
Was that just a one-time thing?
Where,
Because you now have,
Which one?
I'm sorry,
23.
6280, street repairs. Maybe I'm missing something here. We didn't have anything budgeted really. Or very low
20,000
used,
budgeted.
and then 20,000,
Is it another one?
well,
Yeah.
and we used 12, so what is that?
a lot of it was, to me, is unnecessary line items. But a lot of the things is done, you could take two line items that cover one project, or I'm not gonna call it a project, but one line item, for example. So why put 500 here and then 10,000 in this one, where you can just combine them, get rid of
Okay,
one?
so that's what you did,
Yes, sir.
you combined
A
this
lot-
with the
a lot
other
of
street
them-
repair.
A lot of them, we try to combine and get rid of the little, I'm gonna call the little nickel and dime ones, where you got a small amount in there that's, you're gonna have to move it or move something to it to help it in some cases.
Mayor? Yeah, I want to ask you something. Jay, under the, right in the same area, the maintenance part of it, it says equipment maintenance, $6,000. And equipment lease, $5,000.
Yes, sir.
What are we leasing and what are we having to maintain at that time?
A lot of our maintenance is in the vehicles. And some backhoe and our skid steer and things like that is some of the bigger expenses on the maintenance side of it. They rent, let's see, different things. And the reason we have them in here is because if we go out and do I'm just gonna use a water line, for example, and we have to have an excavator, we have to have a rock saw or something like that, and we cross the road, that's what we would use part of that money from.
So you're settling that equipment if we need it.
Yes, sir. And we do, not a lot, but we do rent some equipment on a regular basis.
And why do we do that?
We can't afford to buy larger equipment, especially when we get into the rocks up around, what's the name of that street? Indian Waters up in that area. We had replaced a water line and basically had to have a rock saw the whole way through it. And it's too much wear and tear on our backhoe to try to dig it with a backhoe. We just tear things up doing that.
Rebecca?
I'm gonna go back to the line items that Jerry brought up, because when you mentioned that two of these were combined into one, it's actually, there's three specific line items here: the repairs and maintenance, street repairs, and infrastructure. Just those three totaled last year, the current budget, 35,000, and the requested budget amount is 20,000. So that's, they weren't actually combined. Oh, they may have been combined, but it was also reduced. So I just want to make sure that that cut in the street is something that we can really afford to do.
Well, a lot of them is, and we'll just use street paving if you want to. We might not have had enough to do X number of streets in this line item or this line item, so you had to combine the two. So you'd take, 1,000 or 5,000 out of this one and a 5,000 out of this one to make it work, some of it. And a lot of things too, before, where it would say street maintenance, to me, street maintenance is going out, and that's from fence to fence, basically. The way it was before, and the way that Martin kind of took it also, was off the street was one thing, on the street was another. Whenever they try to do, try to smooth out the edges, clean them up a little bit, some of that was budgeted out of one, pulled out of another also. Very confusing. It was to me anyway. It was. And you'll see, and I don't remember exactly where I think we took it out, but there used to be meter replacement and new meters. Like, I mean, if you're replacing one, I hope you're replacing it with a new one.
Yeah, but, so, just basically though, there's still $15,000 missing from this budget. And I just wanna make sure that we don't need it, put it back there.
May I?
Yeah.
Because a lot of this, our end is gonna be cut down because of the street project.
Okay, that makes sense.
That's what I believe Jay and I were talking about, is like, okay, our worst streets are gonna be attacked, worked on first. So where our money is going can now be moved to other places. So I really believe that this makes sense. And particularly the infrastructure. Street doesn't have an infrastructure. Street is an infrastructure.
Okay.
Yes, Jerry.
Page 24, it's a small line item, but materials and supplies under the postage meter rental, you budgeted 1,200. Didn't you, maybe I'm mistaken, but didn't you move all that into one line item? All the postage I thought was,
Well, y'all wanted them all broken out, so you broke them all out.
Still
Oh.
departmental.
okay, I apologize. I didn't realize you did that.
Amber's face. She had put it all together.
I know.
That
we
was,
did,
that
we
was,
did. That's
yeah.
why I thought I was forgetting.
See your face. Are you okay?
I didn't want to be afraid of asking a stupid question.
No way.
So.
Now, remember when you did the 27 and 28? That's, hot funds. Hot funds are restricted funds. We can't touch them. It doesn't matter what we predict. It's just gonna be what it is when it gets here. And we talked about the utility fund revenue. If you will notice on page, okay, we gotta move this around somewhere. If you'll notice on page 30, the Texas Water Development Board, our portion is 40,000. This might make a difference. The EDC for Texas Water Development Board is a receivable. It doesn't go in here as an expense. It goes in there as revenue. Can you take that out, please?
Just the 40 or both?
No, yeah, take out the 40, but the EDC is going to pay if council approves their budget and EDC approves their budget. This is sort of what we projected. EDC is to pay 1/2 of the principal of the Texas Water Development Board loan. So we need to clean that up, please.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm sorry, guys, first time. Anyway, but that will make a small difference at the end. Did you put it in revenue?
I don't think so. Oh, wait, yeah,
Yes, it is.
it is.
Okay, it is in revenue. Then what you need to do is reduce reduce, 585.60 to 40,000.
I'm sorry, where are you?
Okay, page 30.
Okay,
Take that 80, make it 40, because that's the city's portion.
okay.
The other 40 is EDC, so that would come down right here. Thank you, I'm glad you put that in there, appreciate it. So that actually put another 40,000 on the backside.
Does that make sense, Amber?
I'm sorry, I have a $40,000 revenue and a $40,000 expense.
But you also have an $80,000
Yes.
expense for the city.
Yes,
But it's a $40,000 expense for the city because the total expense is 80.
yes, ma'am.
So let's put 40,000 back in on the backside
Yes, it does.
Good to go.
And so that brings our total, I can tell you what that is. Here in a second.
186, 787 minus another 1%.
Right. Well, yeah, it's 163.
So we're looking real good on the utility service.
Yes, ma'am, we are.
Mayor,
Yes, sir.
one thing I wanted to let council know, y'all already may know it on the page 26 where it says utilities and city fire protection. I thought one of y'all asked me about this before, maybe I'm wrong. The utilities is we pay their utilities for the building here. Electric, water, gas.
Suzanne, Jerry has his hand up.
Oh, yes, Jerry, I'm sorry, I was just looking at.
Page 31. Education. 501, 1500, travel and lodging.
Mhm.
Current budget is 850, and we're looking at 3,600 now.
All the employees must have additional training and also license. They'll have to do testing for additional license to upgrade all of their existing license that they have.
Okay.
And we also have to get them hazmat training, which is expensive, and all, I mean, there's TCQs,
Okay.
got all kinds of stuff we gotta get now.
So those are anticipated, you know.
But before long, we'll have COVID training, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Is the proposed budget on our website?
Not, this version changes every single day.
I understand, but to be having workshops and public hearings,
There-
how would any member of the public have a comment if they can't see?
The version that was published with my office on whatever that date was, it had to be published, that's the version that's coming.
Oh, so it's, okay.
Now, what I would
But I
like,
don't
It's changed
publish
since
these
then.
daily.
Okay, I see.
It's the same one that's up here, right?
And we have one up here for the
Great.
public to come in and view.
Thank you.
Mhm.
yes, Jerry.
Also on page 31. Computer and office equipment, 501, 3060, line maintenance. What is that? What does that consist of?
Is that the
That is the-
for the water well?
That is we had to pay for the extension for the fiber going out to Indian Waters well. And the agreement we got is we pay, that's basically $12,000 for 2 years, 1 year, and then the rate drops back down to the normal. Basically, we had to pay for the extension to get it there.
You had to pay for what?
The extension of the fiber line to get it out there.
Yeah, so you anticipate 12,000 more for
Yes.
that? On top of the 8,700 already spent?
Yes,
So we're looking at right around 20,007, right?
no, that's
No,
The-
I'm looking at it wrong.
the proposed for next year that we will have to pay to BEC for this line.
But that's what I'm saying. This year, on top of next year,
Mhm.
we're looking at 20-some thousand dollars for that line total, right?
It was about that much. It replaced the copper line that we had through AT&T from the 70s
Okay.
that we were paying like $1,000 a month for.
That's what I was gonna ask you to comment on.
Yes,
You guys changed from the AT&T to the,
Right, but BEC wasn't out there yet, so
Right.
it was a deal that Jay made with them.
Okay.
and the AT&T bill, jumped up to $2,000 a month.
right,
At the end, before we did this. So that was the reason why we actually did it. We were gonna save a lot more money with, BEC doing it this way.
And so
Yeah, that's
also, I'm sorry. This will also incorporate the whole system on our SCADA when we get ready to move on forward, so there's gonna be a lot of benefit to this.
Yeah, no, and I apologize, Jerry, I must have misunderstood something. So the 8,000 that's already been spent this year was for the VEC fiber optics, and in addition to that,
Yeah.
it's 12,000 this coming fiscal year. Okay, so thank you for clarifying that. I
No problem.
misunderstood.
No problem.
Yes, Jerry.
Page 32, utilities, 501, 4,500.
That's electricity and Atmos, gas, that's all of it included for the water side.
Well, our current, so far this year is 36,000, you're only requesting 25.
Is that because of that decrease in the telephone line?
No, because
That's
the
just
next one is the telephone landline.
Okay.
I don't have that answer on the reason why we decreased it by 11,000.
We're off by, $11,232 less this year, or for this coming year.
I don't remember what it is. I'd have to look and see.
Well, it doesn't seem like much, but here we were just adjusting for 13,000. I would hate to see us in the same situation on this line item or a similar situation.
I have
Don't
to
want to
check.
spend
I'd
any
have
more
to
than
check.
necessary. That's great if it's going
Right.
down, but I'd like to know why and make sure that we're not going to get caught off guard next year.
The two things that will definitely benefit us on some of this is we have two new pumps, actually three new pumps in the wells right now that recently was just pulled and replaced. But I don't know that
Okay.
that will cut that. I'll have to check and see.
I think that's- Thanks.
You know, the very next section, well, at the bottom of the same page, the maintenance projection has gone down significantly as well.
Yeah. And then, I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. Tank maintenance on Dallas. Has dropped. What?
But the main thing is that at one time, the plan was to actually go in and coat, I won't say 6 foot of the tank, from the bottom floor up 6 foot because of some problems. But with the project that we have coming in, which we can include it in that, we can actually help save some money doing that. And plus, we're building a new tank, of course, up here, which is gonna take some of it off, some stress off of that tank also, but that is the main reason.
Can you explain the drop in, this is up on the bottom of page 35, lift station highway 173? That drop in maintenance?
Yes, ma'am, we completely redone that lift station.
Okay, that's the new one.
No,
No.
that is the old one up above Tractor Supply,
Okay.
where the nursing home comes into you.
The old one, not the new one.
You should go.
Yeah.
Back on 34th. Did I lose myself here? Let me just lost my spot. Okay, no, computer and office equipment software subscriptions, 502,300. You were budgeted for 5,700, you used 390 year to date, and you're requesting 4,850.
That is because Tyler Technology gave us a invoice, but I need it broken down for the modules so that I can code it correctly, and I've been fighting with them since March to do that. So I'm
So
working
you've
on it.
spent it, it's just not posted to this line item? or
Yes.
It's been spent, okay.
It has,
Okay.
but it has not been spent yet. It's just, well, I'm waiting for them to tell me what part is utility so I can split that up, what part is payroll, what part is court, you know, those kind of things, so I can code them to the right jail
So
codes.
you will still need that 4,850
Probably.
for the
yes.
coming year. Okay.
What is the total increase from this new budget to last year's budget? You have those numbers, Jeff?
Not off the top of my head, I don't. but,
Revenue line,
Right. No, the income expenses.
or revenue versus expenses?
Do you want it for the general fund?
Well, I was wanting the total, but yeah, general fund would be.
Okay, so page 26. The current budget is 1,644,381, and then the requested budget is $1,534,347. So I can add that up real fast. or-
No, that's,
Okay.
I can tell there's a difference there, so that's okay.
Okay.
It's good.
Hang on, one. It's a 10.46% increase. This year's budget over last year's budget, this year's projected budget. Oh, that's on the revenue, that's the general fund.
Okay.
And actually, just here.
Might be the last one. Last page 37. Total solid waste. Where's the increase coming in?
There's not an increase. There's not an increase at this time.
Okay. In the requested, budget is what I'm referring to, 490,000.
I believe
Where's that coming from?
that's projected through increased,
That's what I
Residential
had brought up.
Increase, I'm sorry.
increased residential use, not increased prices.
If,
Due to what?
Well, that's what I had asked about, and I'm just gonna show you here. This
Okay.
is the revenue, the first page of revenues in the utility fund, and I was asking where the increase came from.
Mhm.
So what Amber explained was she took the year-to-date, divided it by the number of months at the end of the
Okay.
third quarter, and multiplied them that by 12 for the projection. So
Okay.
that was the increase on that revenue side right there.
Thanks. Thank you very much.
Suzanne,
Yes, ma'am.
Jay's got his hand up.
I'm doing math, yes, sir.
and one other thing, Gary, on the commercial, a lot of commercial, dropped their service whenever the COVID hit, which affected us quite a bit. And, you know, we're hoping everything comes back to normal. We get to see that come back up again.
Okay. All right.
Sorry about the allergies. Yes, Brenda. All right, council, let's summarize, if we could, please. And apparently I can't add. I think it's 11% on the utility side, but only 2, so I get the real revenue. We're going to move 2% of the utility fund revenue and an administrative fee to the general fund. We will have a bit of excess to balance the general fund, and I believe that will produce a contingency fund. We will have excess funds in the utility fund in the amount of about 150,000 or so, perhaps more when we make that other adjustment. Do you want to put perhaps 50 into the contingency fund for council and take another 100,000 and put it into our wastewater fund? Or do you want to leave it in the bank to be drawn on at such time as we may need them for, as a transfer in? Because it remains in the reserves unless we move it right now. Would you approve of about 50,000 into a contingency fund for the utility fund? Or contingencies? What do you want to do with that money?
If it's left in the reserve and something should come up, where it's needed, a budget adjustment could happen at that time, correct?
That's correct. But remember, we're taking it out of, but it goes back into reserve at coal meals with everything. It doesn't become utility money anymore, it becomes reserve money. So if you want to designate it for utilities right now, while we have it on the board, or we can stick it back in the reserve and maybe we might need it for the streets next year, but it's in the reserve. Yes, dear.
Educating, is there any negative in leaving it in the reserve?
Not really. It's not at all. It doesn't leave us much room. Well, all we have to do is do a budget amendment, make a transfer, blah, blah, blah. Yes, we can move it out of reserves at any time. It's just a little bit simpler for the process if there's a council contingency fund where we can go and move from line item 50222, council contingency, to cover some emergency expense like some 14 sets of tires or something. So either way y'all want to do it, it's fine with me.
Let me think about it.
Jay, you have any input?
Me personally, I like to see it in the reserves, but that's just me, so.
Well, it doesn't matter to me.
But we can always be amended to bring it out for whatever reason if need be.
Very good. And that, with that being said, Are you still okay with moving 2% over to the general fund and balancing our budget as it sits? And then the excess would be a contingency fund? Is that what I'm hearing from council?
I think for that specifically, yes, that would be okay, in my opinion.
Well, since we are so tight on that side of the budget, it might be a good idea. I just want to make sure we have all this done. We can make the corrections tomorrow and get them out to you via hard copy or via email for the Thursday,
Meeting.
5:30 meeting to approve the budget.
Sounds good.
Speaking of that meeting, this is a little bit off the subject of the workshop, but here you have copies of the budget amendments, which you do not have to approve. Just be aware of them because we will be adopting a amended budget. Amended 18-19 budget. And that will be reflected in your 18-19 budget when you get it. Yes,
Let me ask a question about the, council contingency fund in the general fund side, Amber and Jay and Suzanne or whoever knows. So our current fiscal year, we had,
What page?
I'm on page 7
Yeah.
on the council contingency fund. So the difference between the current budget and the year-to-date actual, does that balance go back into reserves or would that stay in that line item?
it goes back.
Okay. And then, so this is where we would put that except the difference in, the operating fee from utility, okay,
Yes, basically, we call this a use it or lose it budget.
right,
If you don't use it, it goes back.
Okay.
You can still budget for it, next year, but. So this number over here will change to roughly 16,000 or something.
well, didn't we do 2%? So it'd be,
Well, we've got to clear the 13%,
oh, yeah,
13,000,
you're right,
so
you're right.
we'll figure out what that's gonna be. Okay, again, budget amendments, you can move them around anywhere, anytime, as long as you stay within certain guidelines, and, just because we had to balance the budget before we can adopt an amended budget, these are things that we've all looked at and decided to do. These we can look at, Thursday. Anything else, guys? Do I have a motion to adjourn?
I'll do it.
Please, somebody.
I make a motion to adjourn, please.
Thank you, Rosie.
Yes.
All right, any discussion, all in favor, 7:09, discussing the budget, dismissing the budget.